Yes, yes. Hello everybody, Jason of New Age Revolution Cave. Thanks for joining me. Feel good today. Even can drink a Wicked Grove pear hard cider. No, it's not beer, but it's going down. And today I decided to add soy back to the diet. Not, you know, I just didn't take a bite out of soy. I had some Oreos, some gluten-free Oreos with soy. They had soy in them as an ingredient, so far so good. Yesterday I eulogized television and got the response that I was expecting from all of you. Those who commented seemed to agree that we have lost something that we grew up with, that it has changed, it is not the same. And I said that I would like to do 30 days of my 30 most memorable television moments, and that's what we're going to do right now. So for the first of 30, these are not ranked. Not ranked. They are as I think of them. You know, before I didn't plan this out. I don't have 30 right now written down. I've got to think. And when I sat down last night, I was thinking, all right, what am I going to do? What am I going to tell these people? And the first thing that popped into mind was what we're going to talk about now. And that is stumbling across WWF House Shows on the Madison Square Garden Network in the 1980s, in the early 1980s. That is memorable moment number one of young New 80s Revolution's television love affair. Why is it so special? Well, I'll tell you why. You know, we're talking 84. All right, think about it. 1984, if you are a WWF fan, if you are a wrestling fan, how many good matches do you get to see? As an 8-year-old in 1984, how many good matches do you get to see? You get to tune in to the syndicated, they're not syndicated, the 1-hour championship wrestling broadcasts a few times a weekend. Sure, 2 or 3 times you get a chance to catch it. You know, if you're in the right market, you get to see WWF All-Star Wrestling from Canada. But those were 1-hour television shows that featured superstar versus whatever, jobber, enhancement worker, television worker, whatever we want to call it. You know, your Jose Luis Rivera's, your Mario Mancini's, your Salvatore Belomos. And they would face talent, obviously, that the WWF wanted to showcase. Paul Orndorff, you know, Jimmy Snuka, Junkyard Dog, and so on. And we didn't know any better. We didn't know that other things happened. You know, we've seen pictures of other matches. We might have seen some highlights of other matches, like you would have seen the highlight of, you know, Tito Santana beating Don Morocco for the Intercontinental title in '84. They might have shown that as a brief clip on Championship Wrestling. They might have shown some other main event match clips, but they were from places that we had no idea where this was happening. They were arena shows. They were house shows, right? The WWF would tour the country. And if you were fortunate enough to get tickets to these events, as I was multiple times, you would see good matches. But you never saw them on television. You never saw them on television because Saturday night's main event didn't happen until May of '85, right? Pay-per-views didn't happen until March of '85. Let me turn the dryer off real quick. I think it's going to shrink my shorts. Hang on 1 second. 1 second. There we go. Little interruption. No big deal. Oh, WrestleMania. WrestleMania was March of 85. So we're still not, April. No, March. We're still not seeing main event matches. But certain cable networks, sports affiliated cable networks, like the Prism Channel in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, NESN in Boston, and Madison Square Garden network in New York, would sporadically, it seemed, in our childhoods, broadcast fully televised, you know, good cameras, and I mean, they'd put on a show. They would broadcast their house show onto these cable networks. I lived in New York as a kid, still do. And even though I was, you know, hours and hours away from New York City, I still got the Madison Square Garden channel. And WWF was airing, and I didn't know this as a kid, but WWF would air their house shows monthly, ladies and gentlemen, monthly on the Madison Square Garden network. Monthly. And I had no idea. And I did not see monthly. I looked it up. There was 151 Madison Square Garden broadcasts going all the way back to 1976. August of 1976, WWF started to broadcast on Madison Square Garden Network. Prior to that, the WWF aired its house shows on HBO. It is true. Look it up. They aired their house shows, I do not believe live. I don't think any of these were live, actually, until later in life. But they aired their house shows on HBO. Yes, HBO. And then Madison Square Garden got it. They got the MSG shows. I don't know if HBO aired other house shows from other networks or from other arenas, or did they just air Madison Square Garden? I don't know. But MSG took over in 1976. Think about all the amazing things that you could see tuning into a WWF house show on MSG in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, we just tune in when Hogan beat Sheik, but think of all the other stuff that happened right there on television. I think some of the HBO shows were cut down time-wise. I think they might have only aired like an hour or so. I don't know. But as a kid, I have no concept of this, right? I have no idea that this is happening. And the TV guide just says wrestling from, you know, 8 to 10 or whatever, 8 to 11. And that's why I think that even MSG cut some stuff when they were showing taped house shows, because I think it only aired for 2 hours. I think it was only a 2-hour time slot. Again, I could be wrong. But there was one night when I was ready to tune in to Monday Night Wrestling, prime time wrestling, on the USA Network, and for some reason USA was broadcasting a house show. It was broadcasting a Baltimore, Maryland house show. Incredible. But then I found MSG, and again, it was strictly by accident. It was literally by accident, stumbling through the channels and seeing wrestling and waiting for it to like cut back to Championship Wrestling, the 1-hour show that I'm used to. This must just be a highlight, right? You know, Iron Sheik against Junkyard Dog. This must just be a highlight. Andre the Giant versus Big John Studd. Are you kidding me? This can't be. But it was an entire house show. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And the thing that stands out the most about the house shows was especially for MSG. MSG would put up the match listing prior to the match coming on, and then so as one match ends and they go to commercial, you've got Gorilla Monsoon and at this period of time Mean Gene going to commercial. But before they go to commercial, they'll have a little advertisement. Coming up next, Roddy Piper versus Jimmy Snuka Fijian strap match. And you're like, are you kidding me? Because again, this is a period of time when we don't know anything. We don't know the card. 8-year-old me does not know the card for that night's Madison Square Garden show. I have no idea. You know, I'm expecting Goldie Rogers and, you know, Renee Goulet to go at it, which they did in the first couple of matches, but it was different. It was a 20-minute match. It wasn't a 45-second TV match, right? It was a 20-minute draw between Johnny Rodz and Salvatore Bellomo. And I got to see offense from these guys that you don't see on TV. It was amazing. I got to see some of these guys win, because oftentimes they would do jobber versus jobber match to start the show. Somebody's getting a win. You know, I get to see these guys win. But those advertisements, those, I guess, bumpers, before the match would come, would tell you who's next. And now you get to sit through a commercial, and you have reached your peak as a child, because you are now sitting down in front of your television and you are about to see amazing wrestling happen right here in your home. You had no idea what the concept of a pay-per-view was. You had no idea what a WrestleMania was at this point. You know, you just knew that you... And then it started to get specialer. Specialer. That's right, specialer. Because you got to see title changes. You got to see title changes. And they were a possibility now because they were in a house show and they were not on TV. You know, not on the Championship Wrestling show where titles aren't even defended. There was always the possibility of a title change. And that was extremely exciting to watch. You know, the Gorilla Monsoon, Mean Gene combination is burned into my brain. The MSG Arena setting is burned into my brain. Howard Finkel in Madison Square Garden, locked in. That ramp, not the ramp, but the hallway, the tunnel that they come down, incredible. Incredible. The tunnel was on the hard camera side, right? So you couldn't, you didn't see them coming down. They had to have a cameraman on the other side of the ring showing you the guys coming down the tunnel. And that tunnel is iconic. And then in later MSG shows into the 90s and beyond, they flipped it. They put the hard camera on the other side so you could see the guys coming down the tunnel. I think a Royal Rumble happened in Madison Square Garden a long time ago, like late 90s, early 2000s or something like that, with the Dudleys and the Hardys, and I remember Rico, you know, but you could see them coming, and I think John Cena showed up at that pay-per-view. Like, you see them coming down, but that's Madison Square Garden in reverse. The crowd enthusiasm for these house shows is off the charts. The crowd involvement is off the charts. The crowd anger, huge. Their excitement and happiness, huge. Okay, so MSG house shows and stumbling upon them randomly as a child and just getting blown away by what I was about to see, absolutely a 30 most memorable television moments for me. And in fact, those memories started my whole WWF, NWA, ECW, AWA, and WCCW at one point. I got rid of those a long time ago. But it began my footage collection because I wanted all of those house shows. I wanted them from every market that aired. Tape trading was happening. It was huge. And I have this massive collection, thousands of discs, because of those early childhood memories of stumbling upon a WWF house show from Madison Square Garden. And they're all different. They are all different. The Philadelphia Spectrum shows, very different. You've got different commentators. You've got Dick Graham and Gorilla Monsoon. Dick Graham is awful. You've got Mel Phillips as the ring announcer, awful. You might even have different referees because it seemed like the same referees would ref Madison Square Garden. They were not, I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think that they were WWF employees necessarily. I think they were part of like a union or a group, right? Like the committee, the commission, whatever it's called, the State Athletic Commission. So you wouldn't see them in the Philly arenas. You wouldn't see them in, and the Philly crowd, terrifying. The Madison Square Garden crowd was good. They were good, they were intense, but the Philly crowd is terrifying. I've seen fights in the stands. I've seen just absolutely peppering the ring with debris Unbelievable. Philly crowd, out of their minds. Boston Garden crowd is decent, and the Baltimore crowd was like nothing. But MSG had an intense crowd. Philly had a dangerous crowd. I didn't get to really see a lot of those house shows back then. I didn't have NESN. I didn't have, you know, other, I just had MSG. But USA would air house shows from the Cap Center, from the Capitol Center in Baltimore. Amazing stuff. I love watching the footage today. I still watch the footage today. I love it. It's great. It is just the highlight of my wrestling collection, are going back and reliving these MSG house shows. Memorable moment number 1 of 30 WWF house shows from Madison Square Garden. That is all. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll have number 29 or number 2. It depends on how you're counting. Thanks for watching. Good night now.